Hey, thank you guys for having me here this weekend. Man, it's been so great hanging with you all this weekend. I want to welcome Woodland Hills and also Aqua Dulce, those of you that might be joining us online as well today. So grateful for this church. I preached here years ago before you had this building. It was at a revival on a Sunday night, and it was over in the other building. And then probably about 8 months ago or so, I did a men's breakfast on Saturday morning over in the other building. It was just great to be back here. So excited for what God is doing through Shepherd. Really super grateful for y'all. Dudley told me you're in this series talking about building a tough faith, building a resilient kind of faith. And sometimes people will talk about certain things that being particularly special, and they'll say, I don't even know how to explain it, man. It's just like, I don't know. It's just built different. Like all the cool trucks you saw on the way in, right? The commercials say, the new F-150, built Ford, tough. My brother-in-law, Danny, bought a farm in Kentucky, 150-year-old house on the farm. He gutted the house completely. Foundation is from the 1800s. It has real rough-hewn 2x4s and 2x10s in it. Not the kind you get at Lowe's or Home Depot. True 2x4s. To say it has good bones is an understatement. That house was just built different. You might have an old avocado-colored fridge in your garage from 1960, and it's still running, right? And the repairman comes to work on your new stainless steel one that's already broken 3 times. He walks through the garage and says, they don't make them like that anymore. Lots of times someone will say that about a certain athlete. They'll say, I don't know, they're just special. I mean, that drive, the endurance, the skill set, they don't let things bother them. They just play the next play. They want to take the last shot. They want to be at the plate at the bottom of the ninth with the game on the line. They're just, I don't know, they're just built different. Well, God wants a watching world to look at your life and mine and say, man, I know exactly what it is. I can't put my finger on it. They're just built different. The kindness, the love, the patience, the strength, the courage, the confidence, the humility, the joy, that sense of peace they have. I mean, whatever they got, I want some of that. You see, when you humbly accept Jesus Christ and accept his offer of forgiveness and embrace his invitation to walk a new direction, he moves inside, starts working in you. As you and I cooperate with this transformational power, he loves to put us on the potter's wheel. And he gets his loving hands on us, and he shapes and he molds and he forms and he chisels away at our character, turning us into, as scripture puts it, his masterpiece. And then he puts us all on display to show people what he can do with anybody's life. And like Dudley talked about last week, God can and will use all the tough stuff that comes to us sometimes in this sometimes unfair life to build our character. We actually heard Jesus' brother, James, say, consider it all joy when you go through tough stuff, because God is using all of it to perfect your character from the inside out. And today, one of the other primary ways that God shapes you and me into different kinds of people is through using different kinds of people. In fact, God does some of his best work in community. So here's our built faith verse for today. It comes from Proverbs 27, verse 17. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. Can we read that out loud together again from the screens? Let's all read it together. As iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. You got any friends like that? Are you a friend like that? You see, God made us to do this life together. Now, as you probably already know, the value of human connectedness is one of the most proven by extensive research. We know more about the value of connection and the destructiveness of isolation than just about anything else. I mean, tons of research shows that when people have strong support systems where they're processing their fears and their feelings and their joys and their problems, they're physically healthier, with stronger immune systems. They're emotionally healthier with less stress and less anxiety, less depression. They're more able to reach their goals. On and on it goes. Everything we do is affected by the quality and level of connection that we have with other people in our lives. Robert Putnam, who was part of that Harvard's exhaustive research on connectedness, writes in his book, Bowling Alone, he says, the single most common finding from a half-century's research on life satisfaction, not only from the U.S., but around the world, is that happiness is best predicted by the breadth and depth of one's social connections. I mean, the research shows that emotionally isolated people are much more prone to depression and anxiety and low self-esteem and substance abuse and sexual addiction and eating and sleep disorders. People who are socially disconnected, the studies show, are 2 to 5 times more likely to die from any cause than those that have close ties to friends, family, and other relationships. In fact, and this blew me away, people who have bad health habits, like smoking, elevated blood pressure, physical inactivity, but they have strong connectedness, actually live longer than people who have great health habits but are disconnected. Which leads this researcher to conclude, better a Krispy Kreme with friends than a salad alone. Can I get an amen? Yeah. I mean, this research is showing us that God was right all along, that there's power in connection. When we live in isolation, I know you've experienced this, we're more prone to give in to temptation, aren't we? We're more prone to give in to the discouragement. When we live disconnected, we are so much more likely to become self-absorbed. And we spend our money in very selfish ways. We're much more likely to relapse back into old destructive patterns. And plus, not only do we suffer when we live in isolation, but other people get cheated out of the love that God intended to give to them through us. You see, people who are built different, they just do life together. I'm sure you've heard this old proverb. It's not from the Bible, but it's still a cool proverb. I love it. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You see, people who might be struggling to beat an addiction, they never do it until they join a group. People that want to lose weight and get healthy have so much more success when they join a group and they're not trying to do it all by themselves. Those who want to heal up from some relationship wounds find healing in support groups of people who have been there and are experiencing healing. It's just the way God, our Creator, designed our lives to work. It works no other way. Your heart, your soul, your body all respond to relationships with other people. Relationships are where we get our fuel, our motivation, our sustaining power, and so much more. In fact, did you know that the chemistry in your brain actually changes when you know you have support? You may have heard about this test a group did with a monkey in a cage. They put him in high-stress situations, loud noises, bright lights, music by heavy metal bands and like Pitbull, and they measured his stress hormones. His stress hormones were off the chart. Then they did nothing to change the environment, all the exact same stresses, but they put another monkey in the cage with him. Again, exact same environmental surroundings. The stress levels were cut in half just because there was a buddy in there with him. Gang, God made us to have a buddy or two in the cage with us. A few chapters before that, iron sharpens iron verse, in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 20, it says, whoever walks with the wise will become wise. Whoever walks with fools will suffer harm. Let's read that one together. Whoever walks with the wise will become wise. Whoever walks with fools will suffer harm. Let me tell you about my tattoo experience. I got one tattoo. That's the last one I'm getting. I cried the whole time I got it. But a buddy of mine at the church I was serving said he would do it for free. So, okay, let's do it, man. So I left the service one night to go to the place where he was doing tattoo work, and it was in kind of a bad part of town, and it was dark, and I'm driving trying to find this place, and I noticed there's a car following me the entire time. I mean, it was right on my tail the entire time. I'm thinking, what's going on here? I pull in the parking lot. This guy pulls in the parking lot right behind me. I get out of the car. He gets out. It's like, what are you doing? He goes, hey, man. I go, hey. He goes, my name's Ryan. I work security at church. I'm a volunteer security guy at church, and I was supposed to follow you tonight. So I followed you all the way here. He goes, the reason I knew you were coming here is because my buddy is the tattoo artist. And so I just had to see this. I had to see you in pain. I wanted to come watch this. So he comes in with me, and I lay on the table. I got it on the back of my calf, and I just got my life verse, Micah 6:8, act justly, love mercy, walk humbly with God. A little 3-step program I'm in. And I lay on the table, and he said, let me, and he pulls down the collar of his shirt. He says, look, you see this tattoo right here? It's the one you preached a while back. It's Proverbs 13:20. And I'm going, Proverbs 13:20, what is that? He goes, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools suffers harm. I go, well, that's a cool tattoo, man. He goes, let me tell you about this tattoo. Said me and Patrick, who was the tattoo artist, he goes, we were the biggest fools you've ever seen in your life, and his wife was too. So we did all kinds of cocaine and meth and all kinds of stuff, and we were just crazy. But we were just hanging with each other, so a companion of fools, we were all suffering harm. And then his wife, Patrick's wife, started going to your church. And she found Jesus Christ, and she gave her life to him. And now all of a sudden, we couldn't help it. We were walking with the wise. And then we became wise, and we gave our lives to Christ. So I had to get this tattoo on my shoulder. Oh, man, that is so cool. So let me just ask you, who are you walking with these days? I mean, when something goes wrong, do you have at least one friend you can call and talk to about it? I mean, who do you call 3 o'clock in the morning if your world was falling apart? You got that person? Are you a friend like that to somebody? If you receive some really great news, who is it that you just text like right away and let them know? Do you have a friend that can drop in at your place at any time without announcing it? They can just pop into your house and they got fridge rights. They can just open up the fridge door. Is there somebody in your life that knows your greatest fears and your biggest temptations? Do you have a friend that you trust their absolute confidentiality? Who rubs off on you? Do you know Jesus as an intimate friend? Because whoever walks with the wise will become wise. We all need some great friends to walk with us. When parents drop their kids off, like first day of school, do you think when those kids walk into the school, their greatest concern is, man, I hope I get the best possible education today? You think they're thinking, I sure hope my teachers have graduate degrees? It doesn't cross their mind. When they walk into that school on the first day, you know what they're wondering? Will I have any friends today? When I sit down in the cafeteria with my tray, will anybody save me a seat? Will I find somebody to play with on the playground today? Who am I going to invite to my birthday party? Who am I going to share my secrets with? It all comes down to that word, with. Who will share their life with me? And whom do I get to share my life with? And as those kids grow up, those of you who are parents, one of our greatest concerns is, who are my kids walking with? What are their friends like? What direction are their friends leading them? Because whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but whoever walks with fools will suffer harm. Who you walk with really matters. There's a little book called the All Better Book, where children were asked to solve some of the world's biggest problems. And one of the questions posed to these kids is this one. In a world with billions of people living in it, how would you suggest we get rid of loneliness? Kalani, age 8, said this: people should find lonely people and ask them their name and address. Then ask people who aren't lonely their name and address. When you have an even amount of each, assign lonely people and not lonely people together in the newspaper. That's her solution, 8 years old. I love this one. 9-year-old boy named Max, he offered up this solution. It's brilliant. Make food that talks to you when you eat. For instance, it would say, how are you doing? And what happened to you today? It reminds me of a guy who was sitting at a bar eating pretzels, and the pretzel said to him, man, you sure are a handsome fella. He reached for a handful of peanuts, and the peanut spoke to him and said, you're one of the smartest guys I've ever seen in my life. Puzzled, he looked at the bartender and said, the snacks are complimentary. I'm sorry, that was so stupid, so stupid. But food that talks to you, that's brilliant, Max. Great thinking. The very first song I ever learned to play on guitar was Wasting Away Again in Margaritaville, a real proud moment for a pastor. But it had 3 chords, so I could play the Jimmy Buffett song all the way through. I taught myself. I sat down with a book about that thick, Great Hits of the 70s. And it had the fingering chart above each note so I could learn how to play guitar. And I remember one of the first songs I tried to play was an old Beatles song called Eleanor Rigby. Anybody ever heard of this song? It started with an E minor, which was an easy one to put 2 fingers on 2 strings on a fret. And I would start playing it. Eleanor Rigby, da 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 da. I just kept doing it until I learned it. But the lyrics to the song are kind of haunting. It said, oh, look at all the lonely people. Where do they all come from? Oh, look at all the lonely people. Where do they all belong? Marla Paul, Chicago Tribune columnist, confessed in print several years ago, I'm lonely. The loneliness I am experiencing saddens me. How did it happen to me? I'm 42 years old and don't have enough friends. Is there something wrong with me? Are people just too busy for friends anymore? It seems as though every woman's friendship quota has been filled and women are no longer accepting new applicants. I think there are other women out there who don't know how lonely they are. It's easy enough to fill up each day with work, but it's not enough. Everyone needs someone. I recently read my daughter, The Ugly Duckling. I felt an immediate kinship with this bird who flies from place to place looking for creatures with whom he belongs. He eventually finds them. I hope I do too. And that's from a woman's perspective, who are usually much better at connection than guys are. One study showed that almost 90% of the male population in America lacks a true friend. Guys may, work out with some people. They may have some people at work, network acquaintances, some Facebook friends, Twitter followers, whatever, maybe even a few golf or hooping buddies, but very few true friends. And guys, I can't tell you passionately enough what a good day it is when you can say, I want to walk a new direction and I want to follow Jesus Christ, and I know I can't do this on my own. First of all, I know that I need Jesus to be my best friend, but I'm also going to need a little band of brothers. I need some people in my life that will help guide me and pick me up and cheer me on and hold me accountable, friends that can rally around me when life comes at me hard. You see, I think all of us, but especially men, we have a tendency to divide people into two categories: those who offer help and those who need help. Those who offer help and those who need help. Truth is, we're both. Now, strong men do offer help, but strong men also ask for help. Strong men lean on God and other people. Strong men acknowledge weakness. Strong men confess sin. Strong men are vulnerable. Strong men face their fears and humbly serve other people and invite accountability into their life. And when men, and for that matter women, take the risk and let down the drawbridge to the fortress they've built around their heart and let other people in, that's when life really starts to flourish. The very thing that we've been resisting for so long is the thing that now propels us into a better story. And that's why this weekend in the lobby, there are some group signups, life group signups. Out there you can see the green signs, kind of a springtime look to all of them. Check them out, sign up for a group. Because, when we come in here, rows are good. But circles, they're even better. Because you get face to face with each other, where you're growing deeper, and you're getting stronger, and you're getting real, you're getting honest, and getting vulnerable. As iron sharpens iron, so one friend sharpens another friend. Whoever walks with the wise will become wise. So again, who are you walking with? Who helps you on the path? What wise person says to you, come on, let's keep walking this direction. Let's not go back to the old destructive ways. Let's sharpen each other. As we continue to allow God to do his work in us, let's just spur each other on. And when we fall, and I'm sure we will, let's pick each other up. Dallas Cowboy quarterback Dak Prescott won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award this season for his benevolent work in the community. I don't know him, but it seems like a guy that's kind of, built different. It's a humanitarian award named after the late Hall of Fame running back Walter Payton. They nicknamed him Sweetness. Some of you never saw him play, but he was amazing. And on the run that gave him the all-time NFL rushing record, one of the commentators said, with that run, Walter Payton has just broken the NFL rushing record. With that run, Walter Payton has now run for over 9 miles in his professional career. As everybody in the stadium was going crazy, the other commentator quietly said, and what makes this so amazing is that every 4 yards, he got knocked down. And every 4 yards, a teammate helped him get back up. Again, who helps you up? Who's got your back, really? When I think about that, I think about friendship. I think about that scene from the movie Forrest Gump where Forrest and Bubba are in Vietnam, and it's nonstop raining in Vietnam. It is a nasty, nasty night. There is mud everywhere. And Bubba says to Forrest, "Hey, Forrest." Forrest says, "Hey, Bubba." He said, "Hey, Forrest, let's put our back together. I'll lean on you, you lean on me. That way we won't have to sleep with our head in the mud." And Forrest goes, "Okay." Gang, when life gets cold, who you lean up against? Because it does get cold. When the rain pours down, and it does, when we're exposed to the elements, when we're vulnerable, that's when we need a friend the most. When we're sitting in that ICU waiting room, we're standing by the dirt of a freshly dug grave, we're walking into a custody hearing in a courtroom, we're checking into or out of rehab, or we're going through a breakup, or we're going through chemo, when those cold winds blow and we're thinking, how in the world am I going to make it through this? It's so much better to have a friend walking with you. As iron sharpens iron, so one friend sharpens another. Whoever walks with the wise will become wise. Yeah. Let me ask you, anybody been to Redwood National Forest? I never have. I've lived in California for 8 years and have yet to do it. I really want to do it. I heard it's unbelievably cool. But I recently did some pretty intensive research on redwood trees. Okay, I Googled it. But did you know that these huge trees that soar up to 300 feet tall have a root system that only goes like 5 or 6 feet deep? That shocked me. But here's what was really cool about redwood trees. The redwood roots all intertwine with each other's roots. They extend outward up to 100 feet circumference from the trunk. And each tree is supported and sustained by the larger, wider system of intertwining roots from all the other trees. And that's what provides the stability and enables them to soar high into the sky. Think there might be a lesson in there for us? One of the most glaring things to come out of the past few years, all the lockdowns and masking up and divisions and cancel culture and isolation, I think we learned we need each other. We were created to do life together. That's the genius of God's design. We're supposed to see each other smile. We're supposed to feel each other's touch. We were made to eat together and share together and laugh together and worship together and pray together and play together and embrace each other is absolutely vital to our growth. Now, you might have been told growing up, much like I was, don't let anybody see what's inside. You keep it together, man. Image is everything. Only let them see the Instagram version of your life. Doesn't matter how you feel. Only matters how you look. So suck it up, throw some dirt on it, stuff it down, trust nobody but yourself. You be strong, you be independent, you look out for number one. And our Heavenly Father says, no, all of that is wrong. If you don't open up, you'll shrivel up and die. You need me, and you need each other. I made you that way. I long for you to be fully alive and growing and flourishing, soaring into the sky to show a watching world what my love and goodness is available to them. And the key to that happening is to, first of all, as it says in Ephesians chapter 3, may your roots grow down deep into God's marvelous love. And not just 5 or 6 feet down, but deeply rooted in the truth of his love for you. And then we are to spread out and intertwine those roots, our lives with each other, supporting each other and being real with each other, being vulnerable with each other, listening to each other, encouraging, challenging, serving, learning together, unlearning together, growing together, and soaring together. When I saw that picture of the redwood root system, I thought of some of my really close friends and family members that have been exactly that for me. I got some buddies who will listen to me go on and on about my generational junk, and they'll keep me from placing blame there. They won't allow me to play the victim card ever, but they challenge me to own my story and to own my reactions. And they encourage me in my strengths. They encourage me in my unique calling and gifting in life, and they also point out blind spots that I may have. And they hold me accountable, and they love me unconditionally. I love those guys. It's so helpful to have people like that in your life. Everyone I know who is built different has a strong root system. One that goes down deep into God's love and one that extends to include trusted friends. And I know one of the barriers to this, because I've been there. Sometimes we get thinking, I'd like to get some of that in my life, but honestly, nobody's as screwed up as I am. I can't tell anybody about the stuff going on inside of me. Listen, it was a good day when I realized most of us are like the rest of us. In fact, right now, you may be sitting in one of the largest collections of moral screw-ups in North America. There's not one perfect person here. And anybody who thinks they're perfect, they're screwed up than the rest of us. There's a lot of messiness here. That's just who we are. I mean, honestly, some of us have wrestled with all kinds of sexual temptation, with pornography, with pride and ego, with materialism and greed and bigotry and profanity and alcohol and meth and heroin and coke. And we've battled envy, lying, bitterness, gossip, out of control tempers, revenge, stealing, broken relationships, some really, really bad decisions. But there's lots of changed and constantly changing lives in this place, because we're learning to trust God to do for us what we cannot do for ourselves, and we're learning to let his unfailing love define who we are, and we're learning how to get deeply rooted in him. And so many of us now are intertwining our lives with each other so that we can soar high and strong. You need to know this is a family. An imperfect one, but it's a family that God invites you into. My wife, Debbie, loves family. She hates to see anybody lonely. She is this extroverted people lover. And when she sees somebody left out, she can hardly stand it. Her favorite quote in all the things she's read in her life is from Mother Teresa, which says, "The problem with the world is that we draw our family circles too small." Her favorite verse of scripture comes from Psalm 68, verse 6, where it says, God sets the lonely in families. He sets the prisoners free and gives them joy. And she just embodies that with her life. Let me tell you about Deanna. We met Deanna at Mission Church in Ventura, the church that Shepherd was a part of. And so cool to see so many people finding Christ and getting set free. But Deanna had been into all kinds of stuff. She'd been in the porn industry and had a lot of addictions that she was wrestling with, and started seeking a new life and found Christ. But she had a lot of baggage she had to unpack. So somebody told her about my wife, Debbie, and they got connected, and Debbie began to mentor her and told her about this ministry in Central Kentucky where we were living at the time called Refuge for Women. Said it's a free thing. You can come. Church will pay for it. You just come for a year and you go through this program. It can help you deal with some of this stuff going on in your life. It's just uniquely designed that way. And so she courageously said, "Okay, I'll go." So she packed up everything she had in Southern California, moved there, and spent a year, revolutionary year in her life. Eventually ended up living with us for 3 years. And we host this big dinner every Sunday afternoon. We're in town. It's a generational thing. Debbie's mom did it. Debbie's mom's mom has done it. It's just a thing we do. I got invited in that family when I was 16. But every week, family comes, friends come, neighbors come, strangers we met in the parking lot at church or maybe in a restaurant that week. People just show up for lunch. And I remember when Deanna first moved in, she would just kind of sit there and observe these Sunday dinners. She didn't quite know what to make of any of it, because she had watched her mom slit her own wrists. She was forced to watch porn when she was 5 years old. Her dad bailed out on them. She hit the streets at a very young age, looking for love, as they say, in all the wrong places. Got deeply involved in the sex industry, prostitution, became quote unquote a porn star. Rough life. All kinds of addiction, alcohol and drugs. No real family. Her favorite verse these days has been one that she found over in the Old Testament of the Bible, a little obscure book called the book of Joel, which says, God says this, "I'm going to give you back all the years the locusts have eaten." It's been so cool to watch how he's doing that for Deanna. She wrote a little spoken word piece and told me that I could share it with y'all. And she calls it God Restores My Idea of Family. And this is what she wrote. Screaming, hitting, leaving me behind, or bloody towels and razors I would find. A mom so sick, just wanted to give up, while endless wine filled up her cup. A dad who tried to keep it all together, who promised through adoption to stay with us forever, only to find he would lose his wife and late at night try to make sense of his life. So searching for a family to let me in, I would run away and try to begin the process of blending in, only to be thrown away again. Bouncing in and out of people's lives, dodging abuse and the great pain that thrives. Well, the church decides to take an interest in me, saying, God wants you home. Come and see what it's like to be loved while you rest and be. Come and heal your heart. This year is free. Well, after years of families who are in each other's face, I sit back and think, what is this place? I dine with this family of 20 or more, filled with joy each week. No one looks for the door. I know it will take time for this all to make sense. I will let down my wall so I can see over the fence. So this is what happens when generations are set free by the love of Jesus, the one and only key. The time has come, and here is that hour that God restores what the locusts devoured. That's so good. What God has done in Deanna's life is a miracle, is a supernatural miracle. She is a two-time author now. She married a young pastor. They have 2-year-old twin girls. It's just amazing what God's done. See, God, he places the lonely in families. He places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoner free and gives them joy. Gang, we need each other. The cross of Jesus Christ is a picture of true community, I think. There's a vertical crossbeam, there's a vertical dimension, a relationship with our Father. And there's a horizontal dimension, a relationship with each other. And I'm learning that life flourishes when we live in the intersection of those crossbeams. So maybe you're at a spot in your life, you just need to get this one right first. This vertical relationship first. And here's the deal. He just longs to do life with you. Always has. Been pursuing you, wants to be friends, wants to be your father, wants to be your guide, wants to be your fortress, your rock, all those things. He longs to do life with you, no matter what you've done, no matter how far you've run, what bad things you think you can't be forgiven for, no way. And then he wants to get this one right. And maybe all of us could take a risk like that and come out of the shadows and just be known. You know, like get in a group and start to open up with some people, to extend our roots and intertwine our lives with each other, to find some wise people to walk with, some friends that could actually sharpen us. And then maybe, just maybe, the watching world will look at our lives and say, I don't know what it is, man, but they're just built different. Whatever they got, I want some of that. Let me pray for us. Father, I thank you for all the incredibly unexplainable things you do in the lives of people who humble themselves. And God, maybe today someone just needs to humble themselves and say, I want a real relationship with the God who made me. I want to embrace the invitation of grace that Jesus Christ extends. And maybe others of us today, God, are saying, I got that vertical relationship kind of working, but I've just been holding other people at arm's length. And I never really open up with anybody. God, I pray that today you would give us courage to get the horizontal dimension right too, so we could live in the crossbeams, the intersection of those crossbeams. Father, I thank you for churches like Shepherd who don't claim to be perfect. Just a bunch of struggling fellow strugglers, finding grace, finding strength, finding new life. So I pray, Father, you'd help this church always walk together And I pray all this in Jesus' name, amen. So if you've got some questions today about your faith, what's all this mean? Maybe this is kind of new to you. You go, I don't get this at all. Man, we'd love to talk to you. Need prayer for anything going on in your life. Want to talk about getting baptized. Wondering what your next step might be. We got some decision counselors waiting through the double doors over here. Don't forget about the team expansion, a reception going on, such a cool ministry around the world, and the group signups out in the lobby today. Check that out. So I'm going to ask you to stand right now. Let me just pray a blessing over all of us. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face to shine upon you and give you peace. May we sharpen each other this week. May we walk with the wise this week. And what do you say? We all make our family circles a little bit bigger this week. Have a great week. See you.